Fielding a full-strength squad in spin-friendly conditions, Zimbabwe were expected to give the Windies a tough fight in the first test. They impressed on day one, with Creamer and Williams demolishing the visitors. But then the experience of the Windies came to the fore. First, Devendra Bishu struck to wrest the advantage. And then their batsmen consolidated to take total control. Zimbabwe fell well short of a record run chase, and the defeat means they'll now have to take stock to gain parity in the second test. Very good morning to you wherever you're watching. This is the second test between Zimbabwe and the Windies, and it's coming once again from the Queen's Sports Club in Bulawayo, and it's a warm welcome to day one. Yeah, very good morning. When I say warm, I'm trying to kid myself there because it's absolutely freezing here. A weather system has arrived over this part of Zimbabwe in Bulawayo. Tino Mawewe alongside. Have you known temperatures to dip this? It's 9 degrees here, Tino, this morning, and it feels like about 6.
Yeah, Bulawayo does this.
Yeah.
Having a chat with some of the commentators that came over asking me about the weather, and I said, Bulawayo has the ability to just one day, be cold, which it has been over the last couple of days. But hopefully the rain stays away, and we can have a full day's play today.
We hopefully can. Remember, the first test was a 4-day affair. This is scheduled for 5 days, and the weather, as Tino says, is going to improve throughout the 5 days of this second test match. It's just a 2-test series, but there is so much hanging on this test match. This is a reminder of what happened in the first test. The Windies 219, Zimbabwe, they went from 91 for 1 to 159 all out. That was their problem. The Windies then 373. Zimbabwe, a terrific chase, 316, but it was rather improbable to get there, and the Windies winning in 117 runs. So let me ask you, Tino, it's a different pitch. Obviously, it's 2 pitches away from the first one test. Are we going to see the same strategy from Zimbabwe? Is it going to be the same way of thinking? How do you see it?
I think so. They got the wickets with the spinners. They produced a wicket that wanted to spin, and it did.
Yeah.
So you would expect that they would go with the same kind of plan as they did the first time around. They got some good wickets with the spinners, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to use something similar. All
right, let's get closer thoughts then on the pitch. It's another pitch. It's a new pitch for the second test, and he wasn't with us for the first test. He is for this. Ed Rainsford.
It is a bitterly cold morning today, but we were out with the old, we're in with the new. Before we look at this pitch, let's look upstairs. Very, very gloomy today. There's a lot of cloud cover. Will we see the sun? Perhaps later today. But let's have a look at the pitch. These players, in the previous test match, the ball took turn on day number 1. Will it happen today? Perhaps not. There hasn't been a great deal of sun. Talking about the cloud cover, but let's have a look at the pitch. Some bare areas here where the mower has taken a lot of the grass off, mainly on a fuller area. Around the middle part there, it looks like there is some grass, so you expect a little bit of carry. Day number 1 of a test match, you expect it to be fresh. There'll be a bit of bounce, a bit of movement because of this cloud cover. If I want to win the toss out here, I definitely want to have a bat first because of these bare areas. But again, it'll be up to the captain. So all the best today, and let's enjoy some test cricket.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks very much indeed. Yeah, very overcast. It's extremely cold. You'd think for one reason you'd want to win the toss and keep your players indoors and bat.
Yeah, it looks like a wicket that you want to come out and bat on. Ed mentioned there in the report that there's not a lot of grass on there, and it looks dry. So win the toss, go out there, bat. We saw that at the end of the first test match, the ball was spinning and turning off the wicket. So you want to make sure that you get an opportunity to bat first. Yeah, this is the pitch that's been prepared. I must say it did turn on the first day of the first test, but we saw 373 by the Windies in their first innings, so in their second innings rather. So they're not the world's worst batting conditions. Let's go to the middle again for the toss. Ian Bishop with the skippers and the match referee Javagal Srinath.
We are ready to go in the cool weather for the second and final test match, and Graham Creamer, the captain of Zimbabwe, is here. Jason Holder, the West Indies captain, as well as the match referee Javagal Srinath. Graham has got the coin. Tails is the call from Jason Holder. It is a head, so Zimbabwe have won the toss. Graham, what are you going to do?
Yeah, we're going to have a bat. Fish. We think it's pretty much same wicket. We think it'll break up. It'll be quite tough to bat last year, I think.
Do you anticipate that seamers can get anything with the cool weather and a little bit of rain we've had recently?
Yeah, definitely. I think today might swing around maybe that first hour, but I think this weather also negates the reverse swing that we've seen. So, I think it's getting through that first hour and a half.
How important is this test match for Zimbabwe given the disappointment of the previous one?
Yeah, so important for us. We don't get to play a lot of test cricket, so each game we play is so important for us, and we're looking forward to it again. A few mistakes in the last test match, but a lot of positives, so we'll work with that.
Is it a good thing or a bad thing to be back in action so quickly?
Yeah, not really. Quite lucky, I suppose, that the last test match didn't go the full 5 days, so we had the extra day to plan and get ready for this one, and boys are fresh. Most of our guys are fresh, so that's good.
Any changes to your lineup?
Yeah, we got 2 changes. Sean Williams not feeling well, so PJ Moore comes in for him, and Kyle Jarvis struggling with an ankle injury, so Tendai Chisoro comes in, left arm spinner.
All the very best, Greg.
Cheers, thanks, Mish.
Jason, your thoughts on having to bowl first?
Not too disheartened with the over conditions, but I probably would have battled as well. It seems drier than the last pitch that we played on, so hopefully it holds together. Hopefully it gets better as the last pitch did as the game went on.
A chance for you to have your first test series win, your first series win as captain, and the first for the West Indies to win an overseas series since, I think, 2012.
Yeah, those are good spirit, good things to look forward to. But I urge the guys to just focus on the process. I think once we do the right things in the game, we come out on the winning end. It's just a matter of us to be disciplined. Continue doing what we did in the last game. It's important that one of our batsmen get 100. We didn't get one in the last game, so hopefully we can beat that right here. Pretty good conditions here for batting. We expect some spin, and they've obviously made the one change there with bringing in an extra spinner as well. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, give me that name.
Pardon?
The team.
Oh, sorry, we've got the same team.
All right, and do you want to see anything different from your bowlers that you didn't see last game?
Not really. I felt the bowlers went reasonably well in the last game. Credit must go to the way the Devendra Bishop bowled. Obviously, the conditions really helped him, but the most warming thing for me is the way the seamers bowled. We kept pressure on throughout the entire game. We didn't get the big wickets that we were probably looking for, but based on the conditions, I thought we did a hell of a job to keep things tight from one end and allow Bishop to express himself in the other.
All the very best.
Thank you.
Right, just a reminder of what has happened out here in the middle. Zimbabwe have won the toss. They'll be batting first.
Well, for a number of reasons, that's a good toss for Graham Creamer to win. So, Tino, Mawe, we've got a couple of new faces. Just give us your thoughts on those.
Yeah, obviously, Tendai Chisoro coming in to make his test match debut. I'm a little bit worried about him. He hasn't played too much first-class cricket over the last period, but left-arm spinner and does a decent job for the Zimbabweans in a one-day setup of things. And then, obviously, Sean Williams out. He's not feeling too well. Peter Moore, who we've seen in test matches for Zimbabwe before, had a good debut against Sri Lanka here last year and got 70. So hopefully he can come out here and he can stabilise that middle order.
Well, when you just look at that lineup, you'll see that there's such a lack of seam bowling, and Chris Mpofu will have maybe Solomon Mere, but that's, we'll see how that pans out. And the Windies unchanged, no surprise there.
No, you wouldn't expect them to change. I think they got better and better, especially with the batting as the test match went on. So they'll be looking to get out here. And as you heard the captain say, they didn't get 100 in the first test, a couple of top scores, a 90 and an 80. So they'll be looking to convert those into 100 in this test match.
There we are then. We've got Graham Creamer, the Zimbabwe captain, who's won the toss, and Zimbabwe batting very cold, overcast conditions, and I think that's probably a good thing for the players themselves. Right now, Heath Streak is the coach. He's done a lot of hard work for this test series with this team. Here he's talking with Fazir Mohammed.
Well, this feels like weather more for penguins than for cricketers, but I don't know if Heath Streak and the Zimbabweans have happy feet this morning. Heath, good to have you with us. Different conditions, although we understand it's going to be a dry pitch. Does the weather come in at all as a factor?
Yeah, look, unless it rains, when it's cold like this, it doesn't really rain hard. Sometimes you get that sort of light drizzle. So hopefully it stays away and it can remain dry, and we can have a full day's play.
And for Zimbabwe, started the test match well, the first test, but didn't finish well. What's the feeling in the camp going into this one?
Yeah, we spoke a lot about our first innings. We had an opportunity, having bowled the West Indies out, pretty cheaply in the first innings, and then we didn't capitalise on that. So obviously, first innings key, to put runs on the board, whether you're batting first or second. So yeah, that's always a key thing to put on the pressure. So yeah, I thought we did well in terms of being able to bowl and get 20 wickets, which we haven't done for a while. So that was a positive, and yeah, hopefully we can do that again this Test match.
You are part of another rebuilding process in Zimbabwe cricket. You were part of a very strong Zimbabwe team that gave the West Indies a fright on a couple of occasions. What do you need to do to get back to that level or even better?
Yeah, I think it's just the consistency, and one thing I've said and a lot is the amount of cricket we play. We don't play enough. The big gaps we have in between series. It's hard, to play at elite level and our domestic level to step up to elite level is just quite tough. So we've seen in the past when Zimbabwe play a long series, towards the back end of the series we're really competitive and we can win against the top team. So hopefully we get more cricket next year. It's definitely a better calendar for us, and hopefully that'll show the consistency we can do.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that Zimbabwe were more keen on playing one days than the Test match. I know the qualifiers are coming up, but isn't it important to play a lot more 5-day cricket?
Yeah, look, it is. Obviously, we're working towards a very important, qualifier, being here at home, and also we've got a lot of youngsters who are trying to establish themselves. So more game time, would have allowed them to establish and understand the game. It's a key, it's key for us to qualify for that 2019 World Cup. But yeah, saying that, 5-day Test match cricket is important. It's the learning ground of cricket, and if you can go out there and you can do well in this format, I think you can translate that into the 50 over and even 20 over format. So yeah, important for us, and this is good cricket. To be playing international cricket and Test cricket is better than no cricket.
Heath, stay warm like the rest of us and enjoy the Test match.
Yeah, good luck for Zia. I'm sure it's colder than you used to.
Well, this is a wonderful moment for Tendai Chisoro. He's receiving his Test cap. It's his debut Test match. And Tino Maweo, explain what that feeling is like.
It's a great feeling. He's obviously waited a long time for that. Probably expected his Test match debut a little bit sooner, but always a fantastic moment. And you can see congratulations from his teammates, the senior guys, Brennan Taylor, and they'll be looking to guide him and hope he has a fantastic start to his Test career.
Well, he's not the youngest. He's 29 years of age, but he's got the West Indies, the Windies, as we call them now, to bowl against. But right now it's going to be Zimbabwe who are batting. And welcome to day one of this second Test match. I'll hand you over now to Fazir Mohammed and Vusi Sibanda for the first half hour.
It is a very different feel to the start of this second Test match. Same venue, Queen's Sports Club, but this is the weather for Penguins. The very cold conditions here as we get ready for the second Test match, in stark contrast to how we began the first. And rumours of Penguins at the gate have been scotched by my reliable colleague Vusi Sibanda, who is very familiar with these conditions. Good morning, Vusi.
Morning, Faz. Well, it is a jacket day for sure, and not a great deal, but nevertheless, Hamilton MASAKADZA, he's been around for some time, average of 29 for Z, and with 158 under his belt, a lot of work for him today. And Solomon made it on his second game, made his debut the previous game. He shows a bit of character in him, good aggression, and you can see with that only 2 matches. His second match with an average of 37, highest of 47. And Shannon Gabriel will start us off here today with 2 fifers on him, best of 5 for 11. So it is a very important day for Zimbabwe, with the bat and with the ball as well, and the 2 guys in the middle, Hamilton MASAKADZA, will have a good understanding of how important this game is for them.
Simon Fry presiding in this Test match. He was doing work as a television umpire, kept very busy with the number of referrals, number of reviews and overturning of decisions. And he gets us underway.
Bit of shape away. Good pace and bounce to start with. He will be. It's always exciting to see first up when you see a bit of shape away. But I do not think, even though it is overcast, you heard Fizzy, you heard Wilker talking about how overcast it is out here, and it is cold. Generally, you'd expect the ball to swing a little bit early on, but here at Queens, it does not do so much early on. It looks like it will do a lot. It won't last long for the seamers, but it's always encouraging to see the first ball behaving as it did.
I suppose the question relating to Gabriel, as he just seems to be walking a bit gingerly, walking back to the top of his mark, is that because he's become so injury prone over the years and he's worked hard on his fitness nevertheless, that the only question for the West Indies would have been, after the exertions of the first test match and the amount of bowling that both himself, Kemar Roach and others would have had to do, if it would have been any consideration as to whether or not they might have gotten a niggle here and there, if they would have needed resting, but clearly not. The West Indies unchanged. That would be an encouraging sign in itself.
Yeah, and also what plays a part is playing on these abrasive surfaces here. Their bodies take a toll, especially the fast bowlers. I mean, I don't blame him walking with a bit of a limp, but you have a look at the Zimbabwean lineup as well. Kyle Jarvis is sitting out purely because of the injury that he's picked up. Well, he's had it over the years, and I believe also he had an operation on his ankle, so that's why he's missing out today, purely because of the number of overs, the stresses that their bodies get over time, and perhaps he's taking a sit back and watch the other guys more bold. And again also, which is another sad thing, is Sean Williams missing out because he's got the bug. So unfortunately they're missing out on two of the good players. But talking about how the surface is a bit of a nip back in, but generally it's always going to behave with a new ball, and it's all about seeing it off and see the shine of the ball and trying to capitalize as the day goes, as the session goes by, which is what they did not do for a lot longer in the first test.
They are coming off a 99-run opening stand in the second innings. What turned out to be the last day of the match, the fourth day of the first test. MASAKADZA getting a half century. Miri in his first test match getting 47. So that must be an encouragement. That must tell them, yes, the loss of those two key players will be a setback. It's left the team very unbalanced. Wilco talked about it. With the absence of a Kyle Jarvis, a lot of responsibility on Mpofu. But they've got to work with the situation right now. They're batting first, which is what they wanted to do. And they really need to think of batting through the entire day and a lot more. Maiden over to start the test match. It is the same setting. It's a slight change and a significant change to the Zimbabwe setup. No Sean Williams with his left arm spin or middle order batting, and no Kyle Jarvis, which gives Tendai Chisoro his test debut at the age of 29.
Yeah, it's really sad. No Sean Williams, no Kyle Jarvis, but nevertheless it gives an opportunity for Tendai Chisoro and PJ Moore to showcase their talents. They're good players, and Tendai Chisoro in particular to come and fill in with his left arm tweaks as well. yes, Sean Williams might have done well the previous game with the ball in hand, but nevertheless they'll have to face the situation that they've got and come in and do a good job. Kima Roach, he had a decent start as well, first game, and you start us off on the city end. A bit of a hiccup to start with. What will be interesting, just umpire Kuma Dharmasen on his 49th test match. Vast of experience, very good umpire. Simon Fry was so busy behind the scenes of the last game. It's good to see him out there. Wide to start with, and what's interesting is Solomon Mire from the first test phase is the aggression that he came in with. I mean, if you have a look at, he played a lot behind square, playing those dab shots. 45% of his runs came from there, and as well as on the leg side, taking on the bowlers. And the way he got out the first innings, which is so disappointing as well, on that leg side with the 31% where he scored most of his runs, showed a bit of character to come back in the second innings and showed a bit of resilience, yes, but he needed to kick on. He got 40 odd, I believe. But nevertheless, today is a different day today, and he knows and he understands that he needs to kick on. He needs to have a good start with the bat and possibly kick on and show a bit of fight than he did in the first game. My statsman just confirmed 47 he got, which is his highest as well.
Very well timed. That's a good way to get himself and the innings going. Often deals in the boundary hitting and the shorter forms of the game. That was well timed.
Yeah, good balance. He is falling over a touch, but what's so good about it, the way he's presenting his full face of the bat, with Kima Roach sliding it into him with an understanding also of how he got out the second innings, ball tailing back into him. So they will be reminding him of that, and there'll be a lot more of those balls coming his way. Solomon Mire with an understanding that he needs to keep his balance intact. He played it beautifully, full face with the bat. The mid-on was slightly wider now, if you ever look. That is a beautiful shot. Timing was to perfection as well. Straight away, mid-on comes very straight, but no square leg, wide fine leg.
And because the surface is expected to be very similar to the first test match, the slip fielders don't have a lot to do. And even with the new ball, you've got a field that almost reflects that, with 2 slips and 2 gullies, where it's almost anticipated that because he's that type of attacking player with a lot of runs, backward of point, cutting square, slashing square, that you might want to think in terms of a couple of gullies rather than 3 slips, 4 without loss. West Indies, not surprisingly, unchanged from that victory. Turned out to be quite comfortable in the end, although with Brendan Taylor and Sikandar Raza at the crease in mid-afternoon, 219 for 4 at that point. The West Indies might have been a bit concerned. Zimbabwe with 2 changes.
Yeah, the feeling would possibly be the Zimbabwe team may have got a weaker side. They've looked just 2 of the key players are missing out, but that's not going to change much. With the 2 players that are coming in are just good as well. Yes, with the lack of experience, the lack of games that Zimbabwe play, it plays a part as well. And as you heard Stricky in your interview earlier this morning, he talks about Zimbabwe don't get to play a lot of games, so you don't get to see your graph going up as a batsman or as a player, as per se. So the more you play, the better you get over time. But with the lack of games and a big gap in between series, is not going to help much. So having said that, yes, there may be a weaker side or the underdogs at the moment, but the potential is there, the talent is there. It's on a matter of developing that and getting used to playing more games.
Well, let's not forget that the West Indies can't afford to be lording it over anyone. The former champions of the game are ranked number 8 in the world. If they were to lose this test match, they would drop down to number 9 for the first time ever, dropping below Bangladesh. So yeah, the West Indies would be favourable. Look at where they are. Look at where they've been for such a long period of time. The only time they've gone up probably to number 6 would have been 4 years ago when the West Indies won back-to-back tests against Zimbabwe in the Caribbean, and that gave them 6 test match wins in a row. Bangladesh, then New Zealand, then Zimbabwe. So it's 8 playing 10. So for the West Indies, as well as they would have fought in that first test match, they find themselves in a not dissimilar position to Zimbabwe, in the sense that they are continuing to try to move forward. In the last 3 series, they've lost all 3 2-1, but they've actually won a test match, one in Sharjah, one in Barbados, one at Leeds, a famous victory. But they still lost those series, but they are seen as steps in the right direction to actually be winning more test matches and winning it away from home.
Very well bowled. He's a strong lad, and he will run in all day as well. Just a bit of shape back in. Well watched from Hamilton as well. It is key for him to, as an opening batsman, it is a difficult job, I must say, up front. Seeing off the shine, the ball is behaving a little bit. And
I'll be interested in hearing your view on that as we look at this delivery pretty close to off stump, but well left in the end by MASAKADZA, because often it's said that as an opening batsman, you give the first hour to the bowler, and if you survive and if you get past that, then you can take control.
yeah, in the longer version, we always say first I'll give it to the bowlers. Bowlers are still fresh, so you see off the shine, but that's not to say you get yourself in a shell. If you do get a bad ball, of course you put it away. You don't want to get in the shell and not look to survive, just see off the shine of the ball. It is key to bat long. So that's why we say give yourself a bit of a chance. Second maiden for Shannon Gabriel and of over 4 for no loss.
A confirmation of what we were talking about in the course of the last over. If this ends in a draw, West Indies stay 8, Zimbabwe stay 10. Well, any of the options, Zimbabwe stay 10 because of the limited amount of international cricket for them. The one change could happen if Zimbabwe win the test.
Yeah, any games that Zimbabwe win are also very important. Yes, whichever options that are there, they'll still remain 10th. But pulling out a win here will be even more important for them. It all adds up at the end of the day. And not only will it be good for the point system or to get a point out of this game, but it'll be good for the confidence, good for the camp, good for the nation as well. With the lack of games that we keep talking about, and they just came from a good series. in Sri Lanka. So that would have been a good confidence booster for them. And coming out here and also pulling a win on the second one will be even of a better, or rather give them a good position on the mental side of things.
Kumar Roach has got the better for Solomon Mire. Both innings of his debut test. This was really ambitious from him. Started positively on the first evening, but getting carried away, and then after that encouraging opening stand, bowled off the pans, late in swing, reverse swing. Going towards his favourite area, where one of the better West Indies fielders, outfielders, are stationed, Jermaine Blackwood. Hands in pockets in the slips. Very cool, very cold. In fact, it feels even colder than it is because these players would have come out of England, so it's nothing strange to them. But after 32 degrees plus in the first test, good stop. To be almost single figures, it feels almost frigid, almost as if it's 0 degrees. But that would have warmed the hands.
That was a great shot from Solomon. What's interesting though is, looking at the last test match, not one single catch off seamers went down to the slips. I don't want to jinx anybody, I don't want to put any markers on anybody, but yes, it is cold. Maybe they're not too worried about getting any catches. It could be quite interesting if we to get a catch and the slips.
And a week ago we didn't mind it being windy because it would have just cooled things down a bit. Now you almost are frightened by the sight of those flags fluttering if you've got a head out there. For those boys perched on the gantries, the camera gantries, they are the ones to brave the conditions. Better them than us. Cap falling down from the pocket of Kumar Dharmasena. Edged and got him. Perfectly bowled yet again. And once more Kumar Roach has gotten the scalp of Solomon Mire. Good start for him and the West Indies.
Yeah, disappointing start from Solomon Mire. Very good ball nipping away a little bit. No feet movement, playing away from his body. Certainly a bit disappointed with that, and umpire confirms. Kim Roach all smiles around, but unfortunately for Solomon Mire, he's got to go for 4. As Zimbabwe just lost their first one, and the score's 4 for 1.
Of Solomon Mire, gone for 4 runs after facing 11 balls. New batsman coming in, Craig ERVINE.
Key position of number 3 occupied by Craig ERVINE. Got 39 in Zimbabwe's first innings total of 159 a week ago. Will certainly be expected to get a few more after the early loss of Solomon Mire. So the last ball of Kemar Roach is over. Shannon Gabriel to MASAKADZA.
Yeah, disappointing. It would be disappointing to start with, because I'm pretty sure Solomon will be sitting back in the chain. He's obviously smiling. Good start, but if you have a look at his feet movement here, he's planted at a middle stump and the ball is snipped away a little bit. Good ball, but it's so disappointing playing away from his body. He would feel possibly could have left it, but had he gone further across, he probably would have been able to play it better.
You know, we'll see, the game has changed, but there are certain things that you call fundamentals for a particular reason. Maybe things like back and across, which isn't mandatory, but here you see an example. Why? Look at where that back foot is. It's outside leg stump, and he makes no attempt to get across. So if you're anchored there, obviously you're going to be found wanting. If you're reaching for anything outside off, it's going to take the edge. It's going to go past the outside edge. You might be lucky, might get away. But it's a technical shortcoming that if you want to play Test cricket and succeed, you've got to work on.
Yeah, quite right. If you also have a look at the overs, 5 balls prior to that, he pushed him back as well. And then the last delivery, slightly fuller, nipping it away a little bit, feet stuck together. So you're obviously going to be in trouble as a batsman. And these are the sort of things that you need to be aware of when you're opening the batting. You need to, if you have a look, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's gone deep in his crease, and he's playing away from his body. His front foot did not even go anywhere. Massive gap in between bat and pad, reaching out for it. Yes, you looking at this and sitting in the changing room, you'll possibly be thinking, could I have left it, or perhaps go across a little bit further? Early days for him. He's got a lot to learn. Yeah, he hits the bat hard and would have trickled back onto the stumps. Good awareness from Hamilton there.
Let's talk about a learning experience. It's a challenge, and it's not about being repetitive, but it's about restating the obvious, that Gabriel just maintaining that line outside off. He's been consistently there. Bowling to the right-handers, only right-handers so far in the Zimbabwe lineup. Half volley put away. That will give him a measure of confidence. His first scoring shot.
He waited 16 balls. He hadn't gone off the mark. He left a lot. And it's good to see his feet movement more precise. Gentle half volley from him. You take that any day. Well played. Wide Arsenal. We have look again. Fit movement. We talked about Solomon Mire. He was Hamilton MASAKADZA more an off stump, and able to punish that beautifully outside off stump.
One scoring shot of 3 Gabriel overs, 8 for 1. Brendan Taylor gave Zimbabwe hope in the last innings of the first test match. Top scored. Sikandar Raza was batting well with him, but when they were separated, the innings fell away.
Yeah, again, it's going to be the key for Brendan Taylor, Sikandar Raza and PJ Moore having to stabilize things in the middle. on this abrasive surface, it's going to break up even more, and at a quicker pace as well. We saw the last game, the pitch took a bit of turn from day one, from ball one actually, and it'll be sort of similar situations, similar surface that they're on today. So it is expected to behave. What a delivery that was. Straight away, change the trajectory to Craig Irvine. Kimaraj coming around the wicket, but have a look at this. Tailing back in, nipped away off the wicket. I would hate to get that delivery first up. There's not a lot you can do. That's when you look back and say, well bowled. Let's go again, next one.
And 3 slips in place. And it's the consistency from Roach that has already brought him reward. And now he's working on the lefty.
That's quite interesting. 2 deliveries. One nipped away, swung back in and nipped away off the deck. But this one, looking to shape it away, but then carried on coming into lefty. Creating a bit of doubt here into Craig Evans' mind. Very, very good bowling. You can see the bit of doubt and feet movements now from Craig Evans. Yes, it's early days from him, but Kimaraj right on the money. There's 3 deliveries to Craig Evans. Have a look at the first 2 balls, nipping away. Feet okay-ish, and the second one again, tailing back in and carried on going. Good bounce as well. And then this one, no feet. Good bowling to start with.
And that's why it's called an art form as well, fast bowling. Because it's not just about raw pace and hostility and venom, but it's about thinking the game, working out the batsman, movement off the seam, through the air, variations, consistency even with all of those variations, building pressure, and using all of his experience, Kimaraj, in these heavily overcast conditions.
And this is the key as a batsman. First up, you do understand that these sort of things will happen. You're going to play in mess. Bowlers are allowed to bowl well. We talked about getting the first hour to the bowlers. They're still fresh. They're still running in hard. So you've got to grind them out. You've got to expect these little things that you're going to play in mess at some stage. But it's how you then carry yourself. It's the attitude that we've been talking about throughout the first test match that you need to show to everybody. And that sort of attitude out in the Zimbabwean colours is what we need. And you're going to need more of that. That's end of the over, 8 for 1.
Enjoying his work so far, Kimaraj, and has already gotten the early wicket. Solomon Mire caught behind. Full length delivery. Zimbabwe winning the toss and predictably choosing to bat first on another dry pitch. Key bowlers Roach, Gabriel, then Bishu, who's 2 away from 100 in Test cricket. Jason Holder has just gone past 50 in the last Test match. Jermaine Blackwood had a bit of a golden arm at the start of his Test career against New Zealand in 2014, picked up a couple of wickets when he came on as a partnership breaker. Roston Chase with 26. Just give him a bit of width outside off and he's able to capitalize, won't get 4.
good running as well. It's quite a long boundary out there as well, and Blackwood is not the slowest man on the park. Good shot from him. I mean, he looks a bit on the up as well, but it's the line. Hamilton able to throw his hands at it slightly wide outside off stump. But have a look how wide Hamilton is running. If he was running straight down the line, closer to the stumps, possibly could have come back for the fourth one. If you think about it, Paz.
Yeah, it's always about trying to minimize effort and energy, economy of movement, and if you're running off at an angle, you're basically lengthening the amount of work you've got to do to complete a single. Clean him up. Beautiful delivery. Finding the fault in defense and shattering the middle stump.
It's a great delivery from Shannon Gabriel. You could, the delightfulness in him, the grunt in him, and the sad face on Craig Irvine. Not so great. It's checking for the normal. No, he's fine. That's a legal delivery. So the umpire will confirm, but Shannon Gabriel immediately coming around the wicket and through the gates. Unfortunately, Craig has to go disappointing again out. Craig Evan out for naught, and Zimbabwe lost his second for 11.
New batsman for Zimbabwe, Brendan Taylor. So this is the second test match between Zimbabwe and the Windies.
Just past the half-hour mark, and Brendan Taylor at number 4 finds himself at the crease with Zimbabwe stumbling at the top. Courtesy of some excellent and disciplined fast bowling from Kimar Roach and Shannon Gabriel. Gabriel with a spectacular dismissal.
Yeah, very good ball indeed. Again, not a big stride forward. He's going back into his crease again. Yes, that's his initial movement, but look at that gap in between bat and pad. And with raw pace from Shannon Gabriel, done him through the gate. Very good ball from Shannon Gabriel. Excited, punching it the air. Yet again, Zimbabwe find themselves in trouble. And the first session of the day, Brendan Taylor, the lot on him, and the two senior guys now on the middle, MASAKADZA and Taylor, with a lot on them to try and dig Zimbabwe out of the dish that they find themselves in. Unfortunately, it is what it is.
Right on the mark, first ball. And yeah, it was Zimbabwe's decision to bat first, and that was the decision either team was going to make on winning the toss. And as you said, playing deep inside the crease, not a lot of foot movement either. Gap between bat and pad. And always a spectacular sight, the cartwheeling timber.
Yeah, you almost feel you've got no chance if you're going deep inside your crease, given the ball to move, deviate even more off the surface. On this abrasive surface, I must say, you almost feel you have to go further out your crease to try and cut out the seam movement or any swing. Solid from Brendan. And if you ever look at Brendan as well, he's more different to Craig Evan. I know Craig Evan is lefty, and you can also have a look at Solomon Mira's dismissal. No feet are almost together. Craig Evan goes deep in his crease, which is slightly different to Solomon, but then no feet. He's not going further forward, he's only going possibly 6 inches forward. So really, if you think about it, as a seamer, you would not mind bowling that good length, give the ball, let the ball talk, with a lot of assistance from the wicket. You always got a chance.
Bishu just feeling the left shoulder. The diving stop at the mid-on, unable to prevent the single. Man of the match in the last test with 9 wickets. Seemed to fall heavily on the left arm. For 2.
For 2 here at the Queen's Sports Club. Solomon Mire gone. Irvine gone. It's been a little bit of seam movement for the West Indies with the new ball. It's been very impressive line bowling. I've always looked at Roach as a good line bowler, and we've talked about the propensity of Solomon Mire to nick the ball behind in the first test. I remember saying that he has a weakness outside that off stump. This will do the confidence of Gabriel the world of good. It was noticeable with Mire that the sequence of deliveries he faced before being dismissed, his inability to get across the off stump. And that's why so many of his runs were scored down to third man in the first game, 45% of them. But Tina, when the ball bounces, Mire has a lot of work to do, or if it's around the off stump with movement. Morning to you.
Morning, Ian. You were just talking about the lack of movement, foot movement by both the batsmen. You can see just a few inches in front of the crease, and especially in these conditions, ball moving around, as you mentioned, a little bit of seam movement, a bit of movement in the air. You've got to make sure that you're getting that front foot as far out as possible and negate that movement. Well bowled. And that's the movement that you've just mentioned, Ian. Brendan Taylor, man who was getting into nick a little bit in the last innings. But I'd like to see him get that foot moving just a little bit more as well.
It's a great seam position from Kemar Roach. Not many talk about it around the world. A lot of other guys get talked about their seam position, but Roach is brilliant at it. He's wide of the crease almost every time.
Ideal conditions for the seamers to get that ball. That's Solomon Mire first to go. And again, you just want the batsman to be confronting the bowler a little bit more. Get that foot out there and try and minimize the ability of that ball to move around. You did talk about Solomon Mire getting runs through third man in the last test. The wicket wasn't as juicy, didn't get the little bit of bounce that they've been getting this morning, and a couple of those nicks didn't carry, but not to be today.
just heard through the Stump Effects microphone someone shout discipline. And that's one of the things the West Indies would have talked about. I had the privilege to watch their practice session 2 days ago. And for Gabriel in particular, be patient. Don't fight the pitch. Accept the conditions for what they are. Seize your moments when you're going to attack, but know that you'll probably have to have a long build-up sequence to wickets. Not out, says the umpire. "12 for 2. There are reviews available in this test series. Full DRS. Height would have been the issue.
This is the last delivery of the last over, and you can see a little bit of movement back into Brendan Taylor off the wicket. That's hitting him rather high on the back leg. Nicely punched by Hamilton MASAKADZA early on in the innings, so obviously no fielder in the cover position. But he's got himself high on his heels and punched that nicely through the offside.
It took Gabriel 16 deliveries to make Hamilton MASAKADZA play his first ball this morning. 2.4 overs before he actually got the batsman to play at one. That's mostly been his line to the right-hander. Craig Irvine was tested outside the off-stump. Really good discipline from the West Indies. Very upright, very short stride into the ball when he plays forward. Done through the gap. Takeaways I had from the last post-match presentation was Graham Creamer saying that yes, there were some positives, including Mire, including Brendan Taylor and MASAKADZA, but he wants Hamilton to go on to get bigger scores, to convert.
Yeah, Hamilton MASAKADZA, we know, I think it's possibly his 37th test match and the most experienced Zimbabwean in the lineup, and you can have a look at those numbers, just short of 2,000 runs and an average of 29, and he's got the most runs in the Zimbabwean list. You would expect that he shoulders the innings. He's played lots of games, different conditions, and you really need Hamilton to stand up and to lead in that top to middle order. Let the others bat around him. Brendan Taylor's come back to the team. You expect him to play a similar role.
No run.
Personally, my feeling is, especially in four-day cricket, I played with Hamilton and Mountaineers, test match cricket, he prefers to bat number 3, and I've seen him take that responsibility at both first class and test match cricket, score lots of his runs in that number 3 position. Yes, number 3 can walk in the first over. You must be able to deal with the new ball, be able to deal with that ball that's swinging, the ball that's seaming. But I've certainly seen him play the majority of the better of his innings batting number 3.
Better average confirming that attitude, as you said. averaging 35 at 3, 30 at 4. But I think as well, 42 and 57 in the first game, so he did all the hard work and he got through that difficult stage. And wherever you bat, once you do that, you're in, you're set. And he's got loads of experience, so he himself will be hoping that he can, if he gets through and gets to that area again, he can go on and get a 3-figure score. 4 of them in his career so far. Oh, 14 for 2. Such an important test match for Zimbabwe from the point of view of the disappointment in the first test, to try and certainly have the self-belief that they can win, and at worst put up a much better performance with the bat first innings. That's another one gone. Very, very good discipline from the new ball player of the West Indies, and Roach in particular.
Last over, Bish, you talked about Roach being a line bowler. You spoke about the lines that he had bowled already this morning. This is just outside the off stump. Brendan Taylor not too sure whether to play or leave, and it's because of that line, that channel of uncertainty. In the end, inside edge, and a joy for Kemar Roach. Another wicket for him this morning, and they'll be happy to see the back of Brendan Taylor. Just the one run for him, 14 for 3, Zimbabwe. As PJ, average of 33, which is quite impressive, but still very much in the infancy of his test career. This just his 5th match, and this is the reason why he's there. Kemar Roach, he's been brilliant this morning. Brendan Taylor just not sure whether to play or leave, and the indecisiveness causing the inside edge and ricocheting onto the leg stump. Well bowled, good start. He's been brilliant this morning, Ian. We were talking as we look at that wicket once again. Nice seam, and just minimal movement off the wicket, but enough to get the inside edge. Minimal foot movement from the Zimbabweans, and that's been their outdoing so far this morning. Tucked away neatly by MASAKADZA. It'll be 2 to him. You mentioned in the last over of Shannon Gabriel that it took him 16 deliveries to get Hamilton MASAKADZA to play. In these conditions where the ball's moving around, you want to make sure that the batsman is playing as much as possible. Don't allow him to leave and gauge the bounce of the wicket and get himself in. Kemar Roach from the other end, he's made sure that he's bowled really good. He's made him play the first ball, and that's so important. And you can see again, minimal foot movement from PJ Moore. If that had wrapped him on the pad, that certainly would have been a really good shout. Again, good bowling.
Nice from MASAKADZA. Full face of the bat. Stung Roach.
Good connection, nice full face from Hamilton MASAKADZA, slightly over pitched. It's nicely played, good connection, and surprised at the slowness of the outfield, but she would have expected that most grounds to go straight back past the bowler for 4.
No! 19 for 3. Roach. The left perfectly upright seam position and just right of screen, a little scrambled. Drives through past that left leg with the bowling arm from wide of the crease. He bowled from wide of the crease primarily, Roach, and it's the one thing, and I battle with it, as to whether he can marry bowling a little closer to the stumps with wide of the crease to add something. Hasn't happened over the years. He's very uncomfortable getting close to the stumps, but it presents its own challenges wide of the crease when he shapes it away, because you look at it coming into you and then it holds its line. So I'm not saying for it to change totally. We know about Makaya and Tini and how he did it for his entire career. Just wondering if he could add that to his game. But I want to look at the seam positions when we get a chance again. Oh, off the stumps again from PJ Moore. Yeah, I think seam positions are very important. I've had this discussion with a number of bowlers and why Gabriel needs to consistently get his seam position right. He's getting better at it. That was good. Because a lot of bowlers will say, if I don't know where the ball is going to go with a scramble seam after it touches down, the batsman doesn't have a chance. But what I say is that if you're going to set a batsman up, you have to have some idea, not every time you know where the ball is going, but some idea as which one's going to go in, which one's going to go out. Otherwise, you're just guessing every time the ball goes down. How do you set a batsman up if you can't, to some extent, control your movement? Seam position critical for me. Nice shot again from MASAKADZA, well controlled. 2.
He's looked good this morning, MASAKADZA. Compact. He scored freely through that offside field, particularly to Shannon Gabriel this morning. It's moved on to 15 from 31. It's looked comfortable. I just want to pick up on that seam position that you're talking about, Bish. And we know that obviously where you get the seam to face will guide the ball in terms of swing. sometimes if you can get as upright as possible, that's where you get that seam movement off it. And what is it that really controls the seam and ensures that it stays as upright as possible or in the direction that it's facing as you want it to?
Good question.
Which one?
Just first we'll go to MASAKADZA and talk about him getting dismissed between 10 and 29 quite often. And once he gets through that period is where I want to see Hamilton kick on. If he can get through it, whether he's opening or batting at 3, he would have done the hard work if he gets past 30. You know that yourself, Tino, very well. So that average of 29 really deserves to be higher, even if he's missed a lot of Test cricket. Nice change of pace. Yeah, I think it's your release point. I always found that I wanted to have a checklist. One of my checklists when I was bowling, I wanted to feel the palm of my hand going towards my target, the fingers pulling down directly behind the ball, pulling down, creating backspin. And I think once you've found the ideal seam position in your hand, that's a slow ball from Gable, that's deliberately bowled. Nice change up. And for each ball, it'll be a different angle. And Pofo with a slightly slingy action may have a different angle to someone like Roach right over the top. But you've got a palm of the hand facing your target, fingers pulling back on the ball, so it creates backspin on the ball, which helps to keep that rudder going down. They go for the review straight away.
The umpire, Simon Fry from Australia, unmoved, but very animated. The West Indians, and Hamilton MASAKADZA's walked. Wow. Let's have a look at this. Hamilton MASAKADZA will certainly have another opportunity because Shannon Gabriel has overstepped.
Goodness me. Nothing behind the line at first point of contact, it looks like. Talked about his improvement in the first innings of the first Test match with the no balls. And this is another opportunity. I'm not sure how many times he's gotten wickets with no balls, but this will hurt. Yep. Great technology making the right decision possible, and he'd be flabbergasted.
Disappointment for the Windies. Good delivery. It was quick, it was short, and it caught Hamilton MASAKADZA unawares. Good catch. Kyle Hope in at gully, diving forward, and you can see clearly bottom edge from Hamilton MASAKADZA, and onto the arm, looping up to the man at gully. But Shannon Gabriel clearly over the line. It was with you that we talked about this in the last game, and you spoke about how he had worked on it and bowled a couple of no balls in the second innings of the first Test, and one of them was considerably over the mark. But he'll be disappointed with this. And the players are going to take the drinks.
Lots of action. Hamilton, MASAKADZA almost adding to that dismissal package between 15 and 29. Who knows? Can he go past it? Bit of fortune. Get your foot behind the line, Gabriel. $23 for 3.
Zimbabwe after 11 overs, 23 for the loss of 3 wickets.
Well, it's a very uncharitable morning, but I can tell you that the Windies bowlers, Gabriel and Roach, have warmed things up for the visitors. This has been a calamitous morning so far for Zimbabwe. Away goes Roach. Inside edge, but maybe 2? No, 1 it is. So Zimbabwe, with a depleted team, have won the toss and they're batting first here in this second test of the series. A 2-test series, and they are 24 for 3. Ed Rainsford is alongside. Ed, this was a close escape, a near escape here. Gabriel overstepping. Hamilton getting MASAKADZA getting an inside edge.
Good morning, Alan. And yes, Hamilton MASAKADZA at that stage had thought he had given up the ghost and had to walk. But on a closer review, see the foot overstepping. It was all happening, wasn't it?
Some part of the shoe of the foot has to land behind that line, and that's just millimeters in front. Look at Shannon Gabriel, can't believe it, but that's the price you pay if you just overstep by those precious millimeters. So MASAKADZA gets a life, but this has been really has been a very difficult, challenging hour. It's uncharitably cold, and the Windies probably didn't relish the prospect of bowling first. Shot, it's hit that hard, but it's something of a dichotomy for Zimbabwe, because their side, the selection of their side, suggested that with just one recognised seam bowler in Chris Mpofu, if the West Indies had won the toss and batted, it might have been pretty hopeless for Zimbabwe with their bowling lineup.
Well, Solomon Mire would have had to take the new ball, and he opens the batting for Zimbabwe, which would have made his work even more difficult. But you look at the morning, you try and summarize the first 11 overs, you would say just a lack of control, a lack of discipline with the bat, especially outside that line of off stump. And Hamilton MASAKADZA is only one who's looked sort of have some form of control, and there he'll show you. You bowl a bad ball, he'll put it away.
Kumar Damasceno looks to have a few layers on there on this cold day, and MASAKADZA muscles this one.
And the reason why he'll be able to get these sort of deliveries is because he's been able to stay out there for 39 deliveries. And so the West Indies will then have to revert to a different length in terms of fuller, shorter, testing him, making his life uncomfortable. And so scoring opportunities will present themselves. Whereas the men that have gone in the sense of Mire, Irvine, and Brendan Taylor just didn't get through that difficult period. And so credit must be given to the West Indies. They've really held it together nicely, and they've been patient with the ball. A wicket for Gabriel and 2 for Roach. And in this type of weather, as a fast bowler, it's not too taxing, so you can sort of just push that spell through.
Yeah, it's the kind of conditions that a fast bowler can thrive in. Overcast, there hasn't been a lot in the way of swing. Oh, it's a nick. Roach with lots of effort, 130 k's an hour as well. Roach staring at PJ Moore. MASAKADZA, it is just got a little edge here. It's the end of the over, 28 for 3.
What's key here is, look at the bottom hand. And he hasn't really gone at that ball with really hard hands. What's happened here, Alan?
Well, I'm not sure that we've made that a 7-ball over. It is over now, 28 for 3. Well, this is the sorry reading of the Zimbabwe scorecard. Hamilton MASAKADZA holding them together. 19 not out. Miro went for 4. Irvine for 0. Lost his middle stump. Taylor dragged one on but from Roach for 1. And Sikandar Raza and Malcolm Waller to come. But there would be a rather unease in that Zimbabwe dressing room right now. This is Peter Moore. 26 years of age, he's playing only his 5th test, and Jermaine Blackwood is playing his 27th. He didn't bowl in the first test, did he? Didn't bowl a ball in the first test, Jermaine Blackwood.
Interesting move by Jason Holder. And perhaps it's a change of end. Maybe Holder will want the end from where Kima Roach is bowling.
Yep. Sometimes, you know, Ed, and this is your territory. Sometimes, and maybe Jason Holder's worked this out. You know, captains have hunches, and you're looking at MASAKADZA, and sometimes it's not your leading bowler like Jason Holder. Really should come on now as first change, but sometimes it's your medium pacers who just contribute now and again, can get something out of conditions like this, like Blackwood can.
Well, let's play shots. Hamilton MASAKADZA going hard. It goes along the ground, but this was a reprieve for him. It was a very good catch at gully. It looked as if it was Shea Hope at gully, but there's the evidence of overstepping. At that point, he gives it a shake of the head, he walks off, and then he rubs his head. Disappointment by crossing the line. There's a lot going on, and the West Indies decided to go up for the review because they weren't sure why it wasn't given out, and then on the review we saw it was a no ball, but original decision was not out, so they retained that review. They don't lose it according to the change in the rules of the ICC that came into effect in October, and there's a bit of a chase given behind point. It's really played well by Hamilton MASAKADZA. And that'll be 4.
Nice seam presentation here from Blackwood. This looked to have 4 all over it until the last second, and it's just clipped those boundary cushions. 33 for 3.
Got one, come in. Put it down, boy. Change your ball in. Right arm or this it?
A cap in there is Tendai Chisoro, the left arm spinner. test cap number 103 for Tendai Chisoro. He's a left arm spinner. He's 29 years of age, so it's not like as if he's a youngster who's just come in, but he's in because Sean Williams was feeling unwell and Kyle Jarvis is carrying an ankle injury. Now, just as Ed Rainsford was talking about Jason Holder, the big man comes on. Could be a change of ends ploy to have Blackwood, but Holder, you'd expect with his height, he's not rapid pace, but he could get something out of this pitch in these conditions.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. From where he releases the ball, it's going to hit the pitch and find that little bit of extra bounce that Kemar Roach wouldn't find because he's more of a skiddy bowler. And so when you hit the seam from that sort of height, you will get some sort of deviation. And so it'll be an interesting period here for Zimbabwe. They don't want to give another wicket away before lunch, but he'll be a bowler that will really be trying to hit an area, trying to get something happening.
Three wickets have gone down. Solomon Mire finding Dowrich off the bowling of Kemar Roach and losing his middle stump Craig Irvine to Shannon Gabriel, and then Brendan Taylor dragging one on from Kemar Roach, and that was 14 for 3 with Mire, Irvine and Taylor all back in the dressing room.
Looks relaxed. It's a chilly morning, so trying to stay warm. We're just talking about Jason Holder. A similar build to someone like Morne Morkel, but not the great deal of pace. Morne Morkel has increased his length from a shortish length to a fullish length by 25 centimeters in the last 12 months. For a fast man, that is absolute gold.
So just to take that on then, Ed, so Morne Morkel's, because at the best he's difficult to get away, isn't he? He's difficult to get away. So here, so with the ball getting a little bit fuller, as you've just described, he's looking to bring batsmen forward. Is that what you're saying?
And it's scary.
Yeah.
Because a tall man bowling a fullish length around that 6 meter mark, and from where he releases it, you can only try and go forward, and it's sort of finding the outside edge on most occasions.
It takes a lot of control. That's the sort of length you're looking at. That's the kind of length. Now, even though the West Indies lost the toss, and this is the windy seamers today, you see it's just on that 6 meter mark, good length, just full of a good length. In conditions like these, that's the length you want to be bowling.
Are any of those balls hitting the stumps? Those pulsating balls?
Well, the one round the wicket was from Roach. It took that middle stump out, took it for a walk. End of the over, 33 for 3. For 3. $33 for 3. Zimbabwe in all sorts of trouble here this morning. Second of 2 test series. Day 1. Toss won by Graham Creamer, Zimbabwe's captain. Jermaine Blackwood is still on.
Just come back to the pitch map, and yes, the ball on the right is the one that went on to hit middle stump, but you feel the ones that are way outside the line of off stump, those two that have probably got Mire and Brendan Taylor, are so far outside the line of off stump, and generally you want to be bowling as many balls on that 7 to 6 meter mark at the wickets, because that's where you get the play and misses. So when Zimbabwe look at that, they'll feel as if they've given 2 wickets away pretty easily.
Yes, I think that if Mire and Taylor look at those, they'll look at them critically and think, well, on another day or another over, we would have left those alone. It's a critical difference at this level. Yeah, and the Windies on another day might have to work harder to get those wickets. But Mire's his bat was just hung out to dry, and Brendan Taylor was half in between two minds. Looked.
Solomon Mire, he would want to leave that too far away from his body, and you'd think he was never in a good position to actually play. This is a pretty good delivery, but you'd think if he gets that front foot forward, he can cover the line. Brendan Taylor in two minds, and I think maybe a little bit late on that shot.
I also think you have to give credit here, Ed, as well, with the way that Roach, with his experience, uses the width of the crease. He just, even if it's by 9 inches from planting that front foot forward, he comes in from a different angle, and he's become such a knowledgeable bowler and a reliable bowler. He's not the pace he was, but he's made up for it in different departments. That's a maiden from Blackwood, 33 for 3.
When you play a lot of test cricket, that's what you tend to do. You learn, you adjust, you acclimatize, you get used to different conditions and bowling conditions. Very successful, the two opening bowlers. 2 wickets for Roach and Gabriel, and inexpensive as well.
Four seam bowlers used by Jason Holder. Gabriel with an opening salvo of 6, and Kemar Roach 2 for 14 himself. A toss won here by Zimbabwe's captain Graham Creamer, and changes for Zimbabwe as well. They're missing a couple of key players in Sean Williams and Kyle Jarvis. Both players not fully fit for the second test. Peter Moore on strike.
We're talking about Holder, and we're talking about Morne Morkel. Morne Morkel in the Tour of England, the recent Tour of England, beat the bat 102 times with that new adjustment.
Well, I think on his day, he's just a wonderful spearhead for the Proteas, isn't he, Morne?
Can Holder do that for the West Indies? Because he's so tall, he offers so much, very long arms, just adjusting the length, maybe a little bit of extra pace. Look, it's not all lost for Zimbabwe. There's still Sakinder Razapat, there's Regis Chakava still to come. And what's happening there?
I think he's keeping them warm, or himself warm. So that's the length and possibly the line. 138, that's not slow. That's getting right up there for Jason Holder. If you're wondering why everyone's wearing beanies and you can see sweaters and pullovers, blankets, whatever, it is really a cold, spiteful morning. Hands in pockets, keep warm. The weather system came over Zimbabwe yesterday, and we had torrential rain for hours. And it's grey, it's dark, and there we are. The maximum temperature today 16. It doesn't feel anything like 16. We got down to 10, I think, or 9. Chance of rain 10%. 13 right now. It is 13 right now. So it really has heated up here, Ed.
Feels like Durham.
Durham Vale.
just quickly on how Zimbabwe, it's not all lost. I say that in the sense that there's still a lot of batting. It seems like they just lengthened the batting with the loss of Kyle Jarvis and the inclusion of Chisora, and maybe also losing Sean Williams, who can offer a lot with the bat. It'll be about the partnerships, it'll be about application, it's going to be about this man. Definitely, has to be. There's no question about it. 23 or 52, he's looked the most comfortable. Yes, he's got away with one decision that was proved to be a no ball, but he's got to realize that he's got to grab that opportunity and make it count.
Little push into the covers from Peter Moore. He might think about a third here. Yes, he will. No, he won't. Last minute call. Stay back. 2 it is. 35 for 3. Peter Moore in the side because Sean Williams is out, and Tendai Chisora coming in, making his test debut today for Zimbabwe. Hamilton MASAKADZA 23. Jermaine Blackwood is doing a role here for Jason Holder. I think he's entrusted the ball a bit. You can't bowl Roach and Gabriel all day, so I think possibly in Jason Holder's mind, Blackwood can do a holding job here to rest his bowlers. Now Bishop, it's probably too cold for him, isn't it?
I would have given him an opportunity before Blackwood. And I say this, Alan, because look at this field. Would Hamilton MASAKADZA not be licking his lips right now? The pressure's off.
Well, they've had to go upstairs here. This is the umpire's own review here, I think it is, isn't it? The umpire was airborne at the time this ball ricocheted onto the stumps. Now, was Peter Moore out of his ground? It's gone upstairs. Paul Rifle is the third umpire. Simon Fry was the third umpire in the first game. No, he's fine. He's fine.
Hey, spare thought for the umpire. It's come right off the top of the bails, and the umpire is directly behind the stumps. And there's the conclusion, not out.
Struck firmly, and it's clocked him. Simon Fry, deep fried.
Got to wear one.
Oh, I thought he played it quite well in the end. Simon Fry, that is. And he had to go upstairs. Well played, Simon.
Didn't rub it either. Didn't get the magic spray out.
Shot. And it will be 2. Will be 2.
And this is my point. Bishu is someone that picked up wickets in the first test match. It will be in the mind of the Zimbabweans. 9 wickets he picked up. And Blackwood is actually bowling now. It's an in-out field. There's 2 gullies. There's a slip. You got MASAKADZA on 25 looking really good. There's his figures from the first test match. And so my thoughts are, the man that's been so successful for you, why not give him an opportunity? What is Blackwood's role right now?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the first over went reasonably well. Blackwood's now bowling his third. He's only conceded 7 runs. Holder said, give me a holding job. 17 overs gone, 37 for 3.
Everybody's staying warm at the Queen Sports Club. In Bulawayo, it's overcast and it's pretty nippy. Can't express it any further in terms of how warm you need to be on today.
Shot, very well played from Peter Moore. That'll do his confidence a power of good.
And again, I'll come back to the point of Blackwood. He has Jason Holder just opened the door a little bit. The pressure was on. 14 for 3. And just allowed him to get through that difficult period that the other 3 men that have gone have not been able to. Elevation intentional. Opens the face of the bat. He'll be very good square of the wicket, PJ Moore. That's where he likes it.
Full straight bat, straight past the bowler. There'll be 2 here.
Two totally different lengths. One short, cut away. The next one is full, punch down the ground. So for a batsman, you already feel in a good zone because there isn't a real plan at that stage off those first 2 deliveries.
Just about the line and length that Holder needs to be looking at.
Perhaps give Roach 2 extra overs, give Gabriel 2 extra overs.
Well, it's coming up to half an hour before lunch here on this first day.
Give him a burst, give him one more.
It's well played by Peter Moore.
We spoke about the lengths. The first 2, one short outside the line of off stump, put away for 4. Next one really full, punch down the ground for 2. And so he's trying to arrest the over now in terms of making it uncomfortable for PJ Moore. And he's played that well, and that's good intent by the batsman. Shows that he wants to be out there.
Yeah. Off the back foot again. What a chase. Blackwood is like, I think we saw it in the first test. He's like an Olympic sprinter. He's so fast.
Lightning. Across the surface, pumping the arms, and then pulls out the slide. Really, really good fielding.
66 metres the boundary on that side. The pitch is 2 pitches away from the one we used in the first test. So it's gone to the right as you look at the picture there. You can see the first test pitch, 2 pitches on the left.
No!
18 overs gone, Zimbabwe 45 for 3.
Good start of the day for the West Indies. Good start of the Test match after winning the first. The question will continue to be asked. Well, you've got your frontline spinner. He's taken 9 wickets in the last match. Surely the conditions can't be so unbearable. That you don't want to give him a bowl. They've just come out of the England series where you know what you're going to expect with the conditions. Some days were bitterly cold. And he's 2 wickets away from 100. 100 Test wickets, not too many have reached that landmark as spinners for the West Indies. Was desperately trying to reach it in pursuit of a 6-wicket second innings haul. Didn't get there in the first Test match.
No run.
Yeah, so it is a bit odd, Tino.
Morning, Fazia. Some of the Zimbabwean fans who have braved the cold on this first day of this second Test match here at Queen Sports Club. Nicely bowled, good shape. Just a little bit of movement away from the right hand after pitching. And PJ Moore just feeling for that a little bit outside off stump. It's nicely bowled, it's angled in at the off stump, so if it carries on, it could hit the stumps. He's got to play at it. But just a little bit of movement away off the seam, encouraging for Blackwood.
And what's also interesting in relation to Bishu, while we were off at Vic Falls and doing all sorts of things in between the Test match, Arun was doing a lot of research, and it actually showed that Devendra Bishu, when he bowls first change, he tends to be more successful. When he's used later on, whether it affects his confidence or not, he isn't as successful. But anyway, it's the captain's decision, 46 for 3. There it is. If he's first change, a wicket every 50 odd deliveries, second change, a few deliveries less, and then later on, way down, takes a long time to have success. You're just reinforcing that point that we were making about the success if he's brought on a bit earlier. Would generally come on second change, third change, maybe even later. A wicket almost every 15 overs when he's brought on late.
He's got a considerable amount of bounce. The West Indies captain, something that we saw in the first Test as well. In general, in comparison to Shannon Gabriel and Kemar Roach, he's got the ball to get a little bit of extra bounce, which is expected. He's a big, tall lad. And this is him today. He's gone for a couple of boundaries, just a little bit of width offered to Peter Moore, and he's taken advantage of that.
It's been talked about over and over again, the fact that he doesn't bowl with that braced front leg, and Jason Holder, and therefore takes away from a lot of the pace that he can generate with the size that he's got, the height, the possibility that he could add a few yards, a few extra yards of pace. He was quite effective at this pace in England because of the conditions. On drier, flatter surfaces where it's less friendly to the bowlers, he has been less effective. Good stop. Shimron Hetmyer, substitute on the field.
He's played this shot often and well so far today, Hamilton MASAKADZA, especially to Shannon Gabriel. We're just talking about the extra bounce that Jason Holder's getting. He's got to be careful, I think, playing that back foot stroke. He's got to make sure that he's over it and doesn't have any problems with the extra bounce. A couple of overs ago, we saw PJ Moore play the uppercut to him, and that's because of that extra bounce. No need to try and roll the wrists on it, but ride the bounce and take it over the man at point, and that's what he did. So just got to be careful, Hamilton. Make sure he picks the right one. Man out in the deep. Roston Chase. Nicely played by Hamilton MASAKADZA. There'll be lots of people having tea and sandwiches today. The weather has been extremely cold over the last couple of days. A bit of rain around as well. So it looks like it's going to stay away, but certainly temperatures are very low. .47 for 3.
For the unavailability through illness of Sean Williams, with his captain winning the toss, probably would have hoped he wouldn't be seeing any action until maybe early afternoon, but he was brought in pretty early, pretty quickly. Solomon Mire, Craig Irvine, Brendan Taylor, former captain, all gone pretty quickly. 2 for Roach, 1 for Gabriel. MASAKADZA reprieved via the no ball when he got an inside edge onto a pull onto the body and was caught at gully. Might say he's fortunate, but at the end of the day, it's the bowler's fault. And it is something that is no secret, something for all of his growth and development, and he's worked extremely hard and gotten the reward for it. The fact that he continues to push that front line and finds himself in a situation where almost inevitably the umpire is going to look to the third umpire to verify if a wicket has been taken, tells you that he's going to find himself in these situations every so often. And it is going to prove very, very costly at times. And it is a controllable. We talk about controlling the controllables in the game. There are things you can't control. The weather, maybe the quality of the opposition, nature of the pitch. But you can control where you plant your front foot. And if you've gotten a wicket early on and turns out to be a no ball, you can throw your hands in the air, you can curse whoever you want to curse or whatever. It is entirely up to you.
No run.
Zimbabwe were 22 for 3 at that stage, and he's corrected that now, Shannon Gabriel, but the horse may have bolted, and that's the horse, Hamilton MASAKADZA. 22 for 4 would have been the score had he not overstepped. So an opportunity gifted to Hamilton MASAKADZA. And as his captain mentioned at the toss, he wants to see Hamilton taking a bit more ownership, getting bigger scores, getting three-figure scores for Zimbabwe. He's been given an opportunity to do that today.
He is the senior man, of course. 16 years, an international cricketer. Started so spectacularly with that 100 as a teenager against the West Indies, 2001. But because of Zimbabwe's situation and the struggles and the challenges that they faced over that intervening period, capitalizing on a loose ball. Rare boundary on this first morning.
He's good in this area, Hamilton MASAKADZA. Once you over pitch, particularly outside the off stump, he seldom misses out. That's nicely played. He's waited for the ball to come to him, played it under the eyes. And a nice full flow of the bat. Well-deserved boundary. Been surprised by the outfield this morning, Fizzy. It's been particularly slow. Yes, we've had some rain around, but you wouldn't expect that the outfield would be that slow. That boundary taking Zimbabwe past the 50 mark, 51 for 3 now, and some sense of solidity now from these two at the crease.
Don't know how many fast bowlers would be happy to see their captain put a cover out on the boundary at 51 for 3. It was a half volley and asked to be hit and got it. But you do see that happening a lot more often. There he is, Roston Chase way out on the edge at that point boundary, cover point boundary. Just looking to take away even the opportunities to get a boundary for MASAKADZA. Happy to give up the single. Interesting modern perspective on the game. $51 for 3. No sign of Bishu as yet. Jermaine Blackwood with 2 test wickets to his name, given 4 overs. We thought that it might have been just to allow a changeover, switch around of the bowlers. He's continued for a while before replaced by Shannon Gabriel. The DJ at the ground trying to warm things up with a bit of Latin music, but certainly doesn't change the temperature. It's very, very cool. Very cold. And this holder continues.
Good carry once again from Jason Holder. I'd like to see him push that ball up a little bit more. Some happy Zimbabwean fans won't be particularly happy with the score at the moment. I'll be hoping that these two at the crease will put together 37 in their partnership, can push on into lunch and well after for Zimbabwe.
It has to be difficult for Zimbabwe. Heathrick talking optimistically about 2018, the coach that is going to be a busier year for them at senior level. Maybe a warmer year as well that will allow these fans not to have to bundle up so much. Too much test cricket action out in the open. It's all well and good to talk about developmental series, 18 tours and so on. But the real thing is the real thing. And you can only really get attuned to playing at the highest level by playing more and more. And there you've got it. In 2017, Zimbabwe are just playing their 3rd test match. And we have to remember, whatever people may say about rankings and points and whatever else, these are all supposed to be on a level plane. They're all test playing nations. And it's something that the governors of the game, the ICC or the powerful nations, whoever really runs the game, if they want the format of test cricket, the overall format, not just the preoccupation with the iconic series and this big series and that big series, if they want test cricket as an entity to be respected across the board, Zimbabwe have got to have more opportunities. Bangladesh have got to have more opportunities. Everyone has to be playing everyone a certain number of times, which is why we have the discussion about a World Championship coming up. Of course, we have 2 more test playing nations looking forward to their first test matches next year, Ireland and Afghanistan. But this just gives you an example of the imbalance in the international game at the very highest level. And yes, it's about economics and so many other factors and demand and supply. $52 for 3.
You are the stepping stone, the one with the flame of inspiration, the one with the passion, the one who has what it takes to move Zimbabwe forward. It's time to stand up and do what is right. It's time to rise and do your part. It's beyond a privilege. It's an inheritance, a pledge that everyone has to make. So rise, Zimbabwe. Simuka, Zimbabwe. Pakama, Zimbabwe. It's time to pledge, register, and go vote. What does it mean to be Zimbabwean? To be Zimbabwean is to carry the mark of leadership. And leadership begins when you embrace your purpose and take responsibility. These times we're living in are evidence that each one of us was born in this generation for a great purpose. A purpose to shape Zimbabwe's future, a responsibility to carry the promise and live in the Zimbabwe we want. Zimbabwe is waiting for a generation of people who understand the meaning of standing up. You are the stepping stone, the one with the flame of inspiration, the one with the passion, the one who has what it takes to move Zimbabwe forward. It's time to stand up and do what is right. It's time to rise and do your part. It's beyond a privilege. It's an inheritance, a pledge that everyone has to make. So rise, Zimbabwe. Simuka, Zimbabwe. Pakama, Zimbabwe. It's time to pledge, register, and go vote.